lost too many soldiers not to play it safe. If he walk around with that stick, it ain't Andre 3K. Think I won't drop the location, I still got PTSD. Motherfuck the big three, nigga, it's just big me, nigga, boom. I'm really like that, and your best work is a light pack, nigga. Prince outlived Mike Jack, nigga, boom. For all your dogs getting buried, that's a K with all these nines. You gon' see Pet Cemetery, nigga, boom.
I'm gonna try not to sound like Tony Soprano in the microphone. Have you ever watched Sopranos? Like, you can hear him breathing heavy like the whole show. RDLs to start, because RDLs train your back, and they train them well, in my opinion. We're gonna work up to a top set of 5 to 9, somewhere in there, 5 to 8. A lot of people, I think, they ask me a lot of times, especially in the training programs, what they should do for warm-ups. And honestly, I keep my warm-ups pretty simple. I personally don't do like any sort of individual warm-up. You know, a lot of people will come in, they'll stretch, they'll do some cardio, you know, roll around on the floor, whatever, and that's all fine. I have no issue with that. I really, like as a general warm-up, I kind of just let people do whatever they like to do. But once I actually start getting into what exercise I'm gonna train, I don't do tons of warm-up sets, probably only between 2 to 4 sets, warm-up sets, building up to whatever my top set's gonna be. So, you know, I'm probably gonna do around 405 today for RDLs. So I figure throw a plate on each side, do about 5 to 7 reps, throw another plate on each side, do like 3 to 5 reps, throw another plate, probably do like 1 to 3 reps, and then we'll see how I feel from there, because I might add a couple extra just top singles to build up to whatever my set is, but really I just kind of ramp up through warm-up sets, get enough reps in through my warm-up, and then you'll see I'll hit my top set, and then in this workout specifically, I'm gonna hit a back off set. So I'll hit my top set, I'm trying to progress. Usually it'll be a lower rep range. And then I'm gonna hit a back off set with a higher rep range, sort of like a hypertrophy stimulus. Because right now I'm trying to grow. So November I was 260 prepping for rugby season. Obviously broke my arm, put a damper on my whole season, didn't play. But I liked being at that size. I'm 250 now. So I'm gonna try to get back up there. It actually feels pretty good. I was worried about how it was gonna feel today, not training in 3 weeks, but I don't feel too bad. So honestly, I probably needed it. I don't like to take big chunks of time off like that, but shit happens. So now I'll probably only hit like 2 or 3 reps. I don't wanna fatigue myself too much before I get up to my top set. So it's just enough to get my nervous system ready for whatever my top set's gonna be. But once I kind of work my way up, I don't like to do lots of reps because again, I'll get tired and it'll kind of take away from my top end. Rest between sets for warm-up sets, probably just 60 to 90 seconds. I don't take too long, just enough that I get my heart rate down and my breathing back normalized. But when I get to my working sets, especially on barbell work, it's probably gonna be 3 minutes. The heavier it goes and the stronger you are, it'll probably take upwards of 4 to 5 minutes. Also depends on your cardio, how in shape you are. If you're trying to really push your numbers, it's better to just be fully recovered and rested. For strength work specifically, for metabolic work, you can reduce that rest time a little bit. So A general rule for me, 60 to 90 seconds on the warm-up work. When we get to the working sets, 2 to 3 minutes, sometimes more. And then later in the session, when we do some more bodybuilding stuff, we'll reduce that rest time a little bit, but still mostly everything will probably average around 2 minutes. So again, do your cardio so you're in good shape. I'll probably do only probably 2 to 3 reps here, see how it feels. And that's how I'll kind of gauge what my top set's gonna be. So that felt pretty good. I'm probably gonna add 25s and probably only do 1 or 2 reps now. And then I'll put the 4th plate on to make it 405, and that'll be my working set. So this, I'm hoping, I do a couple reps and it feels pretty light because like I said, I haven't trained in 3 weeks. I hit 385 for, shit, I don't know, I think 10 reps or something like that, like a while back. So I think 405 is the new working weight for RDLs. We'll see. Whew. All right. I think 405 for 5 at least. All right, let's rip it. Six instead of 5, so that was heavy, and it felt heavy. And it will always feel heavy. That's the thing, like, I think people a lot of times when they're trying to build strength, they're like waiting for the shoe to drop, thinking like they're just gonna pick up a weight one day and it's all of a sudden gonna feel light. And I've talked about this before, but if you're constantly pushing it, at least those last reps are gonna always feel heavy. So like, you just have to embrace that feeling. Quit waiting for it to feel light. And if it feels light, it's probably time to up the weight a little bit. So we'll do a full rest on that. So this will be the last set of RDLs. And for today, the goal is to hit 8 to 12. I have to at least do more reps, obviously, than I did with the 405. So now this is just a back down set, just to get a little hypertrophy stimulus, grow your back and hammies. This obviously hits glutes, hamstrings, low back, but it hits your lats and your upper back pretty hard too, which is why it's on my upper body day. Because after this, we're gonna go incline press. It does hit your upper back. The downforce from just holding the bar and the bar trying to pull you to the floor while you're resisting it, it just, for me, I just feel like I get a really good back workout from it, so. Oh. Nine. I feel good with that. The thing is like, obviously maybe not in this rack. A lot of people are afraid to go to failure on these things. And it's like, look, you can push this. If you feel like your low back's starting to get compromised, just drop the weight. You know, granted, I'm using bumper plates. You know, you could be in a rack with safety straps, but you can push these. Don't be afraid to push these. So right now, I'm logging what I just did, and that's super important. I don't think a lot of people value logging their workouts. I can tell you this from having an app and watching what members log their workouts and which ones don't. And a lot don't. It's only about, I think, 30 to 40%. So, and it's not gonna happen every single workout. But I wanna come in and I either wanna do more reps with the same weight, and I wanna do more weight within a certain rep range. So if I'm not tracking what I did, because I basically am running 6 different workouts right now. So if I'm not tracking what I did, it's gonna be hard for me to remember what weights I was working up to. So I'm gonna put in here, you know, RDL, 405 by, what did I get, 6 reps, right? So, and then I hit, let's do 405 by 6, and then we did, what was it, 355 for, oh wait, no, 365. Whew. 365 for 9. So what I'm gonna do is over the next, 2 to 4 weeks, is I'm gonna try to get my 405 up to around 9 to 10 reps. That's gonna be my number one goal, is to improve my reps first. Then once I get my reps up on that weight, then I'll add a little bit more weight, probably another 10 pounds or so, and then work on that. So it's a slow crawl. You don't need to jump, and I really prefer, I feel like a lot of people like to progress weight first, but I feel like you're also gonna stall or plateau pretty easily that way. For me, I really like to push the reps first. Once I get my reps up to the top of my assigned rep range, then I increase the weight. So 405 for 6 and 365 for 9. And now we're gonna hit the incline press. And then I'll just write down the date and everything that I did. We're gonna do the same thing here that we did on the RDL. Pretty straightforward. I'm gonna throw some weight on there, hit some reps, start doing my warm up. Same thing, I think on this I'm working into a range of like 5 to 8, 5 to 9. And then we'll do a drop off set again, or a back off set, or a cool down set, or whatever you wanna call it. I'm doing a neutral grip. I like the feel of a neutral grip on this machine better, but you could do pronated grip too if you wanted to. Really, it's your preference. I feel like I get a deeper stretch in the neutral position. If I wanted to go maybe a little bit higher weight, I would probably go more into a overhand or pronated position, but today I'm doing neutral. So I'm probably gonna do 753 as my warm-up sets, and then hit my tops working set there. So for this machine, I basically just progress the middle peg until I feel like I'm plateauing. And to be quite honest with you, in my upper body, I have a lot of development and a room for development to go, I feel. So the only time, guys like Jordan Peters do much better in depth on how to use the prime machines. He recommends like a 50-50 split, or like a 60-40 split from mid to, I believe, lengthen, or mid to short. But honestly, a lot of people can probably just progress the middle pin until they've plateaued for a significant amount of time. Then you can start manipulating the resistance curve with these machines. A lot of gyms don't have these machines yet, but I also have seen some pretty standard commercial gyms like Amped get some prime fitness equipment and stuff. So if you have the opportunity to train on one of these machines, you should. So now we're gonna go 5 reps. The thing too is, a lot of guys, especially in my circle, because I haven't historically done tons of bodybuilding content myself. That's almost another discussion for another time, because I feel like bodybuilding is in everybody's programs, whether they realize it or not, and there's tons of values to machines. It's not just for building muscle. You can also build strength in machines. I mean, if you have a set rep range and how many reps you can do with a certain weight's increasing or the weight's going up, you're also getting stronger. You know, we have this idea that like strength is just barbells and machines are just hypertrophy, but there's so much overlap between the two that it's a ridiculous argument. And if you have machines, you should utilize them. So now I'm gonna hit 3 reps, still working up to a top set. That felt pretty good. I lacked a lot of upper chest development for a long time. My lower pecs are pretty good from doing a lot of dips. I've been doing tons of incline work probably the past, since I was actually able to start training upper body again after I got cleared on my arm. When was that? Probably end of January. So February, I had a big emphasis on getting my upper body to a better point, because again, I've always been pretty developed through my lower body, but I've also focused on that. So incline press has worked wonders for my chest. I'm just gonna do 1 rep now, just to kind of feel out this weight, because I think I'm gonna add 10s on each side, and that's gonna be my weight for my top set. Actually, I'm gonna do 2. Yeah. So I'm gonna add 10 to each side. I didn't really talk about breathing on my RDLs, but you know, when you're doing like compound lifts and you have to brace your spine, I like to take my breath at the top of an RDL, do my rep, and then kind of exhale and then reset. But the nice thing about machines is you can kind of just breathe with the reps. So when I'm in the fully stretched position with my hands near my chest, I like to be inhaled, and then as I'm pressing out, I like to kind of exhale with the rep. So, you know, if you go heavier, sometimes you might find yourself just holding your breath and kind of doing like a Valsalva maneuver almost naturally. But as you're warming up and you're kind of going through your reps, especially with the machine, since you don't really have to brace, you're kind of locked into a machine, you can just kind of breathe with the reps. So inhale into the stretch position, exhale into the shortened position. So eight. Let me write that down because I will forget that. So this machine, I just count because I note the machine and then I just put how much weight is on each side. Some machines have a certain weight labeled on the machine, like how much resistance it has without weights. But for me, especially if you go place to place and you train in different places, it's not always going to be the same, and you're probably going to have to use different pieces of equipment. So if you're using machines, I like to notate what machine I'm using and then just put the weight, so next time I use the same machine, it's more accurate. That's also the nice thing about rep ranges, is as long as you're training to failure within that rep range, you're getting the stimulus that you want, regardless of the machine, regardless of the weight. So now we'll probably drop, like, since I hit 8, we'll probably only drop about 10%, because that's on the upper end of the rep range. Now we're gonna hit 8 to 12 with just the, with 180. Take a full rest, probably 2 minutes on this. This is the drop down set, so we're going 8 to 12 reps here. And we move to our next exercise, which I don't even know what that is. Oh, 9. For the single arm pull down, I go left side first because I tore my bicep playing rugby. So I have a torn bicep. So this arm is a little bit weaker. So I like to do this side first just to match my other side. So hit 7 on that side. I like this setup from Prime because I feel like I can just really lock myself into this. It's nice. So I'll never be a professional bodybuilder, but I'll still be jacked. So same thing for warm up. I'm just gonna go 7, 5, 3 and then play it from there. Again, I might do a double or a single if I feel like I'm a little too far off from my working weight. It's funny, my bicep on this arm always wants to cramp now because that long head has to now compensate for the short head, which I tore. It's still adjusting. It's important to know I did not tear my bicep lifting. I tore it playing rugby. I already said that, but I feel like I need to make that known. I think like a lot of people just like, and traditionally, depending on what kind of environment you're in, a lot of people don't like to fully lock out the elbow joint. I've always trained that way. I've never been one of those people that like I stop short of lockout. I don't think there's any real benefit from a hypertrophy standpoint to locking the elbow out, but I just like my elbows to be able to extend like they should. And I have found over the years that like people that don't, they can't actually get full extension of the elbow. I just like my joints to do what my joints should do, and my elbow should lock out. Again, when you're just pumping through some sets, you might just kind of you might find that sweet spot of where you kind of keep tension and you don't fully get there. But I feel like in some aspect of your training, even if you're like doing tricep work or whatever, make sure that you can actually lock out your elbows, just from a mobility perspective. All right, so now we're gonna hit 3 reps. I think I can do 245s on each side for 5 at least. That's the thing, like I haven't trained in 3 weeks, so I'm kind of like having to re-estimate my numbers, plus just probably any potential strength fall off from the past 3 weeks from like not having really any stimulus. I'm kind of like guessing, and you might overshoot or undershoot on your first workout back. But the good thing is you can just adjust mid-workout. Like people get way too carried away with the numbers on that first workout, and it's like, if you're going back after a while, you don't know your numbers, you don't know your weight, just hit what you think you can hit in that rep range, work up to that top set, and if you overshoot or undershoot, just adjust, get the sets in, and then next week, you now have numbers that you can base your entire workouts off of. So like, that's why it's also important to log everything. I went fishing this week. I'm not a fisherman, but I learned some fishing rules. And the rule is, if you don't get it in the boat, you never caught it. So to me, I caught 6 fish, but I only got 4 in the boat. That has nothing to do with this workout, except for you didn't do it if you didn't write it down. So make sure you log your workouts so you know what weight you did. Because I don't want to hear this whole, oh, I did such and such weight, and then it's not logged and it's not recorded anywhere. Because if you didn't write it down, and if you didn't record it, you didn't do it. All right, let's see what I got here. What'd I say? I said I was gonna get 5. I've been doing this long enough that I know my weights. So you could actually see on that rep, I probably maybe only had 1 rep on my right side compared to my left because of the bicep. But honestly, without the bicep tear, that's probably gonna be pretty normal for most people when they do unilateral work. You're gonna have a side that's stronger. That's okay if you know that you have one side that's not as strong as the other. Don't call it weak, it's just not as strong. It's still strong. But if it's not as strong, start with that side, match the reps on the other side. Hopefully hit 8 to 12. And again, if not, it's fine. You just readjust. At least you have a number and you know to hit your target where you need to be next time you do this workout or next time you do this exercise. Oh, 9. So I'm really just thinking about driving my elbow kind of into my hip on this. That's what's really going to get your lat. So I just think about moving from the elbow. So a lot of people will probably be like, man, it's like you're not doing a lot of volume, right? But you know, the way I kind of look at it is I'm just doing 2 working sets. You know, I hit for this workout in particular, I have a lower rep range that I'm trying to hit. Then I reduce the weight to get in the higher rep range. So it's really only 2 working sets, but all those warm-up sets and everything still contribute. You don't need to do tons and tons and tons of sets. Like you can see here, I'm just taking each of my exercises to failure in the rep range that I've assigned, right? So it doesn't mean failure until you can't do any more reps. It means you, generally when you're putting programming together, you pick a rep range to get a specific stimulus. You wanna go to failure within that rep range. And that's why I like ranges, because it gives you some cushion on both sides to hit or miss. And it's a much more honest progression. When you get into the territory of letting people decide how many reps they have left, using systems like RPE, which is rate of perceived exertion, or reps in reserve. I've never trained like that. I always take all my exercises to failure within the rep range that I assign myself for my clients. So that's the approach I take, and I just feel like I get more honest results and honest progression that way. Because a lot of people will do, you know, reps in reserve all month, and then they get to their 3rd or 4th week and they hit PRs. But when really that 3rd or 4th week, they finally just like actually push their numbers instead of like for 3 weeks, they just kind of sandbag their workouts, right? So I just find training to failure to just be as honest as you can get, because while RPE and RIR are decent enough systems for a lot of people, there's too much subjectivity for me. When you failed, you failed. There's no subjectivity to that. It's very objective. So that's how I like to train. You don't have to train that way. That's how I've always trained. It's gotten me good results, and it's gotten my clients good results. So I'm actually gonna go overhand grip for this. So one of the things that I actually really like to do is switch my grip angles. So I did some pressing in a neutral grip, obviously on my incline press. So now I'm gonna go overhand on this one. One of the things that I kind of learned a long time ago actually, was how important it is to vary your hand position with your upper body stuff, because not only is it going to change your arm path, which is going to hit different fibers, it's also just going to keep your elbows healthy because you're keeping the bones in your arm rotating. or at least maintain the ability to rotate into different positions. So like one of the biggest mistakes that I see with guys in a commercial gym is when they're doing their pressing work, they'll continuously hit the same angles and the same grip, like hand positions, right? So everything they do is in this like pronated sort of overhand position, and then they'll hit the same pressing angles or pulling angles with the same hand position, sometimes with multiple exercises in an entire workout. There's no need to do that. Like once you've taken a certain exercise at a specific angle to failure, you don't really need to do more exercises at that angle. You want to vary up your pressing angles, so we can press overhead, we can press incline, we can press, you know, flat, we can press decline or even like dips, right? So you have multiple angles that you need to press in, not only just from a hypertrophy standpoint if you're trying to build muscle or build certain tissue, but also just keep your shoulders healthy, right? Like obviously you want your shoulder to be able to go through its entire range of motion. So you don't have to get crazy about your shoulder mobility as long as you actually vary what you do on a day-to-day basis. If you're always going into the gym and you're always pressing overhand and you're always pressing the same angle, you're gonna run into issues, more than likely. But I find that it's easier to mitigate those issues if you just vary underhand, neutral, overhand, and then change the angles that you press in. Regardless of what your goals are really, whether it's strength, hypertrophy, or mobility, that approach covers all three. So. Oh, that's good. I can go up pretty significant in this. It feels so light that I'm just gonna throw on some 45s. I hope I'm not getting too excited. I like training a lot. 3 seems to be a sweet spot for a lot of people, like a lot of my clients. 3 is like a really nice sweet spot. I think if you're trying to take your training goals a little bit more seriously, 4 days a week is probably the best. And then with those other days, do your cardio, do your stretching, you know, do something else other than the gym. Yeah, so I'm just gonna add 10s to this, and then we're gonna rip my working set. So just in today, you know, my first back exercise was RDL. It also allows me to get a little bit of lower body. I like lower body training. It allows me to hit my lower back pretty consistently. And your hinging work, like your deadlift work, feeds into your squat work and vice versa. Because on my leg day, I'm gonna have a lot more, it's gonna be more squat focused. And then all of my accessory bodybuilding work will be a lot of machine work. So it allows me to get deadlifting and squatting in a week. And I can hit those compound lifts. I'm basically hitting a compound lift every workout. So it saves my low back from getting all of its volume on one day. Because that's the thing, is like if you try to put deadlifts and squats and good mornings and or whatever, you know, any lower body compounds in, you're basically gonna be limited by your back. I find that something that I've really liked to do lately is put my hinging work or my deadlift work on my upper body day, because it is a very potent upper back stimulus for your lats, for your, you know, your upper back thoracic, your traps, your rear delts, biceps. That obviously hits hamstrings and glutes and erectors, but it's a potent upper body exercise too. So, you know, and that's like the way I'll structure a lot of my workouts is my squat or deadlift, like my heavy compounds will always come first, then we're gonna move into our machine work. If I'm doing like plyos or something, which I'm not really doing right now, that'll come even before the compound lifts, but let's rip. Whew. 10.5. So I will mark down that half rep, because again, you may not get a full rep every session, and the more accurate about exactly what you did, the better. So, you know, maybe next workout I actually hit 3/4 of a rep, and then my next workout I hit you know, a whole nother rep on top of that. But since I hit 10.5 reps, that's actually a little higher than where I wanted to be in my rep range. So next workout, I still took this set to failure, as you can see. My next workout, I'm actually gonna increase the weight a little bit for my first working set. So 200, so I'll probably do 210, 220 for my first working set. And then this will be my back down set next workout. I had to get 11. I had to get 11. All right, good. So drop down, hit 11. So like I said, my first set on that was a little higher than I wanted it to be, but that felt good. Now we're gonna hit some shoulders. I'm gonna do some really pathetically light lateral raises. When I do my lateral raises, you'll see, I'm not gonna go up just to here. I'm actually gonna take them all the way up. Gets my upper back a little bit too, and because I'm not purely focused on bodybuilding, I like to keep my shoulders nice and mobile, nice and healthy. I'm already warmed up, right? I've done so many exercises now. My shoulders are warm, so I'm basically just gonna jump into 2 working sets to failure. Like we're not gonna make this too complicated. So we're just gonna go here. You can even rotate them a little bit so they come up. Gonna do like 15 to 20. Ooh. 5 pounds has never felt so heavy. Oh, I love those because I feel like it just hits my whole shoulder girdle. I feel it, front delt, side delt, upper back, neck. Again, I'm not necessarily a bodybuilder, so I'm not trying to just like hone in on one specific muscle group. A lot of people, oh, you shouldn't do your laterals from the side. You should kind of be in the front. You should, whatever. Just do your laterals. So we'll probably just go 90 seconds to 2 minutes maybe on this, maybe even less, 60 seconds. As soon as my heart rate comes down and I can normal breathing, I'm just gonna jump right back into it. That'll be my second working set. So your main exercises, obviously they can take a little bit of time. You gotta warm up. Again, after you do your first session, and like this is a lot of people when they join my coaching, they get so carried up about what they should do on their first session. And really, get in there, do what's assigned, figure out your weights. Don't worry about hitting it right on the head. You can adjust the next workout. So get in, do something. That's gonna give you a lot more information to work with when it comes to selecting weights. On the smaller muscle group stuff, where you're not using a lot of weight, you're doing high reps, you don't need to do tons of warm-up sets, if any. Like I said, I just jumped straight into it. I don't need to do 2 to 4 warm-up sets for lateral raises, okay? But like my other stuff, obviously I did more warm-up sets, it takes a little bit more time. But, you know, really, 60 to 90 minutes is a sweet spot for me. I have the luxury of having that time to train. Some people, if you're not really trying to hit the isolation work, I don't necessarily recommend skipping it, but if you're one of those people, like you're trying to get in and try to get out, just hit the bread and butter stuff, hit your pushing and pulling work, and then you can leave. If you have some extra time, hit the accessory work. Obviously, if you're a bodybuilder or this is your sport or whatever, you obviously have to focus on all the small things. But for most people, if you're just easing back into it, time's a constraint. Do all the important stuff that you can. If you don't have time at the end to hit the little stuff, cool, doesn't matter. Just try to do it when you can. Of course, I definitely want to be the guy that's like, you should do your whole workout, you should do every exercise and every rep, but I get it, shit happens sometimes. Sometimes you don't have enough time or whatever. Even if you just come in and you just hit just the one push and one pull, it's better than nothing. This one I hit 20. Let's see how many I can. Oh, whew, one more. Maybe one more. Nope. All right, 15. Now I'm still gonna log this. I hit 5 for 20 and then 10 for 15. Now we're gonna hit abs and then we're done. I think today we're just gonna do some hanging knee raises. For ab work, I keep it pretty simple. I have ab from the pelvis, ab from the thorax. So you can think like sit-ups. Well, you could actually think of like any sort of hip flexor work, knee raises, leg raises, that kind of thing. Thorax abs, so crunches, sit-ups, that kind of thing. And then also you can obviously do rotational work, and then you can do lateral work, right? Side bending. So for my ab work, anytime that I have an ab exercise programmed, I vary my ab exercises. So I just constantly rotate those, take them to failure. Today I'm gonna hit hanging knee raises. I'm also doing it because I like the hanging aspect. Stretch is gonna stretch out my back and my shoulders and everything after the workout. The next workout, I'll probably hit like a thorax oriented. So some cable crunches, something like that. Just sit-ups, whatever. And then after that, I'll probably hit like some side bends, and then I'll just rotate around. Maybe do some rotational work, some med ball work, something like that. But for my ab work, I just like to rotate it. With my heavy compounds, I'm constantly training my abs to brace and be stable. So when I do direct ab accessory work, I like to do movements that are gonna move my spine. You can do any sort of hip flexor work, so leg raises, knee raises would be like pelvis dominant ab work. Thorax or rib cage dominant ab work is gonna be like sit-ups, crunches. And then of course like rotational work, gar hammers, med ball slams, you know, I don't know if you do maces or anything like that. And then, side bends, obviously. So any sort of dumbbell side bends, cable, barbell. You guys will see as the weeks go how I rotate those, but just to give people like a forecast. I'm using my straps because I don't want my grip to give out before I'm finished with my abs. And as heavy as I am right now, my grip will definitely give out. Oh. 25 reps towards my hip flexors, and I'll do 25 more. The reason I'm bringing my leg back, I can't necessarily bring my legs down because I'll hit the floor. One of the perks of being 6 foot or taller, or one of the cons, I suppose, is it's hard to actually do hanging work without bending your legs, but some spaces have, I don't think any of the racks in here are 9 foot, so some spaces have 9 foot racks. It's easier to do hanging work, but unfortunately I think everything in here it's only like 7 or 8 feet. So in this, I'm gonna take probably just 60 seconds rest and just rep it out. Because again, ab work, like I'm trying to take it to failure, but for me, really, it's just about getting that movement in my spine. And so doing the, like the leg raises, you're gonna get some lumbar flexion, some low back rounding. So obviously it's gonna train my hip flexors and my abs to some degree, but it just gets my spine and my pelvis moving. I mean, my hip flexors are pumped. I can feel the front of them. So ideally, I would like to be able to just take my feet all the way down. But, you know, obviously I can't do that because I'll hit the floor, as you can see. So we're just gonna go here. It just shortens the lever. Just do more reps. So there you go, I hit failure. This probably looked pathetic. I probably look like a fucking whale hanging from the bar, but. So that concludes that. Finished with abs. Training today at Push. Thanks, Javi, for letting me train here, letting me film here, and we'll see you guys next workout.